Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back. It's Tiffany. I've been away for a whole month navigating life, trying to sort myself out. So last video I mentioned that I moved to the Northeast, but on top of that, there's even more changes because I'm changing my business focus. So I last ran a recruitment agency, but now in the process and have actually set up a social media marketing business with my boyfriend and one of his best friends. So major change, but I'm really excited. I think it's so easy to resist change and continue doing the same thing even when you recognize that it's time to get into that next level in life. But I always try to remind myself I am not a tree. I can move at any time. So that's a message for someone out there who needs to hear that. Now, today's video, it's a little bit different from what I usually do, but focusing on relationships and having a bit of a girl talk, talking about self-worth, talking about meeting my boyfriend online, and also signs of true love. Now, relationships for me, the relational aspect of my life is one of the most evolved, simply because I had so many kind of limiting beliefs and mindsets and quite toxic approach, but I've had to change a lot of that to get to where I am today, and I can see how it's reflecting in my self-confidence, but also my relationship with other people. So the first section, self-worth. Now, I begin with self-worth simply because I think self-worth it's the beginning of any. If you ever want to have a healthy relationship with anyone, you've got to start working on your self-worth first. And I think sadly for a lot of us, we grew up in environments where we don't really have maybe like a solid role model, especially as women. I think, we don't always have that solid role model for how to love ourselves, accept ourselves. And sadly, we kind of take on toxic, self-sabotaging behaviors from our parents who sometimes don't really know what they're doing when it comes to love and relationships, quite sadly. And unfortunately, we kind of spend our lives, just self-sabotaging, not kind of loving ourselves and then getting into relationships that do us more harm than good. And for me, like I said, I mentioned in previous video that I lost my mum at a young age. So I never really had someone to kind of sit me down and say, okay, love yourself, accept yourself, and then go out into the world. So obviously, when I was in previous relationships, I had the kind of typical, destructive habits, like, clinging on to someone who is emotionally detached, striving hard to be loved and accepted, people pleasing, the sort of typical behaviors we exhibit when you're kind of low in your self-worth and how you see yourself. But the good thing is, a lot has changed for me because I experienced a heartbreak about sort of 4 years ago, and it stopped me in my tracks. It got me sort of looking at my relational habits and thinking, what am I doing wrong here? And I remember at that time I took a short solo trip to South France, kind of came back rejuvenated, and I started doing more kind of self-work and thinking, who am I? What do I want out of life? Because I think also sometimes we're so obsessed or focused on relationships with other people, we forget that actually there are other areas in our lives we need to sort out. It could be your finances, it could be your health, it could be your mind, it could be your spiritual life. So for me, kind of taking a step back to work on those things helped me to build my self-worth, developing my relationship with God further allows me to see myself as a queen He has created me to be. And by doing those things, I'm now at a point where I love who I am, I accept myself. I'm not perfect, but I don't care because I'm a work in progress, right? I'm trying my best, and that's all I can do really. And I think that certainly creates a new benchmark for the quality of people that come into my life, and I think that's had an impact on my current relationship now with my boyfriend. Second segment, which is about meeting my boyfriend online. So yes, I met my boyfriend online. I think most people actually, it's the kind of the new way to meet people. It's funny because just this week I was having a coffee chat my boyfriend's mom and her friends, and obviously they're a completely different generation, right? So we had a conversation where we went around the table discussing how we met our partners, and obviously they all met their partners in an organic, natural way. We went to a dance, and he said come to dinner or come for drinks or come for a dance, and we've been married for 40-50 years, and I'm like, wow, how do you stay married for 50 years? People can never stay married for 15 minutes anymore. But yeah, and it only came to me, and it was like, met my partner online. So it's interesting now, there's been such a shift with how we meet our partners now. And so I met my boyfriend on OkCupid. This was just almost about 3 years ago. And yeah, it was, we had obviously we had a good date. Things kind of eased off a bit for a while. We sort of had 2 dates and didn't really sort of, take things to the next step until I remember it was around Christmas. I was having a Christmas party, and then I remember I was doing some preparation with my sister, and she said, "Oh, why don't you invite that guy that you want on a date with? It seemed quite nice." And I was like, "No, that's weird. I'm not inviting that guy because we're not even really talking anymore." But she said, "Oh, it's Christmas. You invited me, seemed nice." So I eventually did, and obviously that he turned up. My boyfriend now turned up, and yeah, and things just sort of escalated from there. And we've now been together for almost 3 years, and honestly, it's the best relationship I've ever been in, hands down. Simply because I think it's a healthy relationship, it's a proactive relationship, and I think that actually leads to my third segment about signs of true love. So, love for me, I'm the sort of girl who loves fairy tales, right? So I've seen all sort of Disney films, and you see how love is portrayed as this kind of day out in Disney World, where you sort of, you've got the butterflies and you're kind of floating on air. And as much as that's an incredible feeling, love itself is not a feeling. Love is not a theory. Love is not based on words. I really think love is a proactive thing. Love is about people showing up in your life. It's about that person who wants to help you, that person who wants to, who is there for you when you're down. They're there for you when you're not feeling your best. And I think for me, that's why my boyfriend is the best, I've ever had in my life, simply because he shows up. I'll give you an example. I remember the last guy I dated, it was a situation with my younger brother, and I was quite upset about it. And I remember he kind of put his arms around me and said, "Oh, I hope things are okay." He obviously seemed concerned. It's like, "I hope you sort things out." But then when I think about my boyfriend now, if anything was to happen that upset me, it would actually be proactive about doing something to make that situation better. And I think that's how it's a sign of true love. Love will show up in your life. It's not just, "Oh, I hope you feel better." It's, what can I do to actually make this situation better? And I think also tied to that, when it's love, I think love will sort of challenge you a bit, because love is a little bit uncomfortable. To really love someone, to be loved, you have to be vulnerable. You have to open yourself up in maybe ways that you might not want to. I mean, for example, this sounds silly, but it took me ages to actually take off my wig in front of my boyfriend. But I was like, how can anyone love me if they can't see my natural hair? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I've had to sort of just be open in ways that felt a bit like, but I think that's how you know that you're ready for that next step. It's allowing that person to see your flaws, they see your imperfections, and they love you anyway, because no one is perfect, and you don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just have to allow yourself to be loved. But yeah, I think I'll stop there, because guys, I could go on and on about relationships. But yeah, that's all I wanted to share. I think, I'm at that stage in my life where lots is changing, but it's all good. But yeah, I hope you guys keep well, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Always remember that fortune rewards those who live intentionally. See you soon.